if you're new to this type of format, essentially what I was saying before is I have topics that people vote on, and all of my topics are viewer generated. This particular topic I had early on when I started doing this show, and I was shooting from my camera phone. So now I have a new and improved version to where I can get into more detail and have all kinds of information associated with previous topics. So what I've been trying to do is go back through and redo certain episodes. And so this particular one, I've got more to talk about in regards to flat earthers. So let's get started. So here we are with the science of flat earthers. So let's jump right into this. Earth is an oblate spheroid. So it looks round. Thank you. I like my intro. I have to thank Gonna Go for it. He's on Twitter and he made it for me, which was really nice. And so let's talk about the shape of the Earth. It's an oblate spheroid. It looks round to us. Instrumentation shows us the shape, but we can't rely exclusively on sight because our eyes can kind of fool us, right? The Earth looks round because it spins, and that's why it's like that. And this particular image that I have here is from Japan's Himawari 8 satellite. I probably said that wrong and I'm terribly sorry, but this is a collection of images shot by that satellite over a 24-hour period to generate this particular image. So we can't rely exclusively on our own eyes, and so we're too small to see the curvature of the Earth. Therefore, we have to rely on experimentation as well as instruments to show us the shape of the Earth. So flat earthers, what is this? Is it delusion, conspiracy, mental illness? Is it a cult mentality? Well, it's important we understand the root as to why people think the Earth is flat. Do these individuals suffer personality disorders? Is there mental illness involved? Or do they have this cult mentality? Or is there a sense of belonging that they feel in this? So we're going to kind of tackle a little bit of this, but let's talk about the history of flat earthers and what exactly these people have been getting up to. Here we have an individual named Sam Rowbotham, aka a guy named Parallax. He actually gave himself this name. This is his pseudonym that he published a book called The Zetetic Astronomy, Earth Not a Globe. So this is kind of what the book looks like here. Zetetic Astronomy. It's an experimental inquiry into the figure of the Earth, proving that it's a plane. It's the only material world in the universe, and he gave himself a really cool name named Parallax, Maybe I should come up with a cool name for myself. But this was his pseudonym, Sam Rowbotham. So let's take a look at his highly scientific experiment. This is what it looks like. So essentially, we have over here, we have our little, his idea was essentially, he took his telescope and he was trying to look across a canal, and he's like, if the Earth is curved, I shouldn't be able to see boats. But, over the 6 miles, I see boats, therefore it's flat. So this was the definitive proof that he had, was this experiment where he looked through this telescope, he saw boats at 6 miles, and he said, the Earth is flat, it's flat, see, this is what I did. And so this is his sketch, his highly scientific sketch here, but this was his logic and rationale. And to be fair, if we just based all of our assumptions on that, then, hey, we would all think the Earth is flat too, right? So what are we dealing with in this case? So what's the big deal? Why was his experiment messed up and not correct? All right. So here's the issue with his experiment. Rowbotham, aka Parallax the Incredible. I kind of want to say that because that just kind of sounds like that should be at the end of his name. You know, but that's Parallax, all right? Rowbotham, Parallax the Incredible. All right, so he held his telescope 8 inches above the canal water, allowing refraction to interfere with these measurements, showing it was a flat Earth. So refraction played a role in his incorrect usage of the telescope. Now, this is why we rely on multiple instruments. One reason is because we need multiple instruments in order to collect data from multiple sources to ensure that there is no user error in our experiments. Rowbotham's flawed experiment led to the modern flat Earth movement, which sparked the scrutiny of a particular scientist who later regretted his decision of getting involved. Sometimes scientists, they have well-meaning, you know, they feel like I need to debunk this person, and then they end up regretting the decision of getting involved altogether. So let's talk about this particular individual. Here we have Alfred Russel Wallace. He is a founder of modern biology. So he read this book. He was gobsmacked, puzzled, confused, boggled, as most of us are, by this flat Earth movement. He read the book by Rowbotham and found it to be nonsensical, and he decided, I'm going to debunk this flat Earth. I'm going to do it. I'm going to show him, you know, with my science. And, you know, and that was kind of the idea of what he was trying to go with. So what happened and how did he go about doing this? Excuse me. Well, in 1870, there was a guy named John Hampden. He published an ad in a paper essentially offering a 500 gold British pound bounty. Why do you watch all you rock? So John Hampden published an ad in this paper saying, I will give somebody 500 gold British pounds to debunk Rowbotham's experiment using this canal. Hampden was a Protestant rector's son who read a book by William Carpenter called The Theoretical Astronomy Examined and Exposed. So it was kind of very clickbaity type of title. So we kind of know, if you've gone along with my previous podcast, if we have like a clickbaity title, then it tends to be a little bit pseudoscience. So this Theoretical Astronomy Examined and Exposed, it was an expose. And so Hampden, like Carpenter, wanted to rid the world of this round Earth lie and persist that the Earth was flat. Now Wallace thought it would be easy money. He thought, this is going to be so easy. I'm going to get me 500 gold British pounds. And normally a simple telescope experiment would show that he is correct. And so they did the Bedford level experiment. Excuse me. The same experiment, similar to Rowbotham. I'm still getting over this sinusy stuff. What he failed to realize is that flat Earth people are not rational. They ignored his experiment and evidence and still insisted that they were right. Excuse me while I have a sip. I'm still coughing, guys. I cannot put this on YouTube, can I? So, what exactly did Wallace do? I'm coughing my brains out, and I'm very sorry. All right, so the Wallace experiment. Telescope. Black band on a pole. That was the same height as the scope. A red disc. That was the same height as the scope. And a second disc that was 4 feet lower than A. They deny evidence. Yes, they do. All right, so that's what he was essentially trying to set up with this. That was bad typing. I'm dying, guys. I'm dying. Okay. Live streaming and coughing with sinus problems. It's not fun. All right. So this is essentially all you need to perform Wallace's experiment. So here's his sketches that he had of the particular experiment. So the idea is that if you take the telescope and you have the black band be the same height as the telescope down the way, then you have these two red discs. Don't die, we need you. I'm trying not to die. Eat a shot of apple cider vinegar. I have people offering me home cures while I'm live streaming. You guys are awesome. So essentially, the telescope was at the same height as the black band on a pole. Then you have two discs. One that's the same height as the telescope, disc A, and B is 4 feet lower, disc B. The rationale: if the disc at the same height of the telescope is in line with the black band, that means the Earth is flat. If not, it is round. And his experiment, he was very careful to ensure that his experiment corrected for any refraction. So this is another sketch of what they saw. They had the black band that was the same height as the telescope, as well as the red disc, and then they had the red disc that was 4 feet lower, right? So this is what they saw. So here, we can see what Gwyneth Fee recommends. So yeah, so here, I'm jumping back. So these are the sketches that show the inversion of the telescope. So this is what they saw. Now, Wallace and Hampton, when they were there for their particular experiment, they both brought people to kind of, as their referees, to justify what it is that they were looking at in the telescope. So William Carpenter, the guy that wrote that clickbaity book about how the astronomy is exposed, am I Bill Nye's sister? No, I don't think so, but that's okay. So Hampton's referee was William Carpenter, who had the clickbaity book about exposing astronomy and how the Earth is really flat. And Wallace had Dr. Coulter, who was there as the referee, and he was going to verify what Wallace saw in the telescope. Now, the experiment overall was successful in showing the Earth's curvature because we can see those two dots are above the black line. So what happened with this? What actually went on after they performed the experiment? Because all kinds of drama. Lots and lots of drama occurred once they performed the experiments. So what happened? Okay, so Hampton decided that he was not going to look into the telescope because he trusted William Carpenter. We are all related, kind of common ancestor and all. That's true. So Hampton would not look in the telescope. Yet both views presented the same data. Carpenter's view as well as Wallace's view and Coulter, all three of them verified that it was the same image. The data was sent to John Walsh, who was the editor of the Field magazine, who confirmed Wallace as the winner of the bet and published the results. Hampton had to pay the $500. Now here's the thing. Hampton didn't let this go. He sued Wallace for 15 years and sent death threats and abusive letters to try to get that money back. He sent these letters to Wallace's wife. He sent it to his house. And Wallace had to get the authorities involved. Wallace, in turn, had libel suits against Hampton, as well as court orders to cease and desist. So for 15 years, Hampton harassed Wallace. And so Wallace was like, what is the frickin' point of this? All over easy money to get these 500 gold British pounds and just to be hounded for the rest of a whole entire, it's like 15 years though. It's just, why? So sometimes it's not necessary, it's not really worth all that abuse. So why was he so abusive? Why in the world do people continue to think that the earth is flat? Why flat earthers? So let's think on this. There's an importance of individuals to be right. All right, let's kind of pick this apart. We all know that this is culture driven. It's mandated. We know that being right can drive acts of hate. Do you have to wait 15 years for? Oh goodness. We know that the education system is based on kind of binary, right and wrong. You either got the right answer or you don't. People associate being wrong with as an embarrassment. There's this first world race that we're trying to get to, where in this race of rightness, and wrong can be associated with weakness. So let's kind of pick this apart a little bit and see what in the world are we actually talking about in regards to this need to be right. It is need that to be right in society that is mandated. We see that it drives these acts of hate, including war as well as violence. And our current educational system is set up to be right or wrong answers. We don't see a lot of praise for asking interesting questions or thought-provoking questions. We see a lot of punishment for having the wrong answer. And if you get the wrong answer, it's embarrassing. So people have this need to be right because of pressures via society and institutional pressures, including the educational construct. Our society is in a race to be right all the time. We want to be the person at work that has the right answer. The one at the job that's always correct. Being wrong is seen as a weakness in employment, in society, and all kinds of facets that we do with on a day-to-day basis. And if you're wrong, especially at your work, you feel like you're stupid. It's associated with weakness or incompetence. And this is not the case, yet it is viewed this way. And so they have this inherent need to, I have to be right. So let's jump back to this and go, why? But why, flat earthers, but why? So, is it a delusion? No, it's not a delusion, because multiple people believe this. Is it a cult? Well, it's not a large group of people. That tends to be, it is a large group of people. It's not a small group of people that you would associate with a cult. But it's still strange nonetheless, right? It's most likely a conspiracy. So that's kind of what we're looking at when it comes to flat earthers. They're a bit more along the lines of conspiracy theorists. And it follows what we call the system justification. So what is system justification? Well, here it is. It's all of these little blocks right over here. All of these blocks right over here. System justification is essentially, you're saying, hi, I'm smart and totally awesome. Well, that's sweet. Thank you. So system justification in regards to this type of conspiracy thinking is they have this dominance and this resistance. There's usually a political psychology associated with it. There's a lot of self-interest. They have something called in-group bias, to where they're only going to think about what they believe. And then we also have a lot of cognitive biases here that I talk about. And last week I talked about this. There's an ethnocentrism, outgroup antipathy, homophily. All of these things are associated with this conspiracy theorist. They're not going to listen to people outside of their group so well. Oh, you watch a lot. This is your first time commenting. Oh, yay. Hello. So we have a lot of science behind the system justification, and also something called group justification. So let me break down essentially what group justification is. Group justification, this is where they self-evidently are true, meaning that they are only going to believe what they think they see. They serve their own interests. They develop their own ideologies for justification, and they have preference for those who are like them and think like them. They're often hostile and prejudicial to those outside of their circle or their belief systems. And the thing is they're seeking conflict, not resolution. They're not really looking for correct answers, and they're not looking for any answers that will validate opposing views. Now, here's the rub. We may see a rise in flat earthers and other conspiracy theorists as societal constructs become more threatened. So in the current administration, we have a lot of different aspects of society that are being threatened. So we might see a rise in other conspiracy theorists, and that may very well include flat earthers as well. Another thing that we need to think about, that everybody needs this, is something called social belonging. All right? Social belonging is very powerful, and we have this inherent need to belong to a group, and there's some evolutionary benefits to that, to be part of a group that nourishes and helps you and helps you grow. And so there's this need to belong, and it's extremely common in society. Flat earthers belong to this super special secret group that has all of the right answers, that unlock the secrets of the universe. And it is a strong need that is filled easily in this construct of thought. So let's talk about the different types of mental systems. You have two. Some people call it System 1 and System 2. I'm calling it, I've seen it listed as that, and I've also seen it as called suspicious and reflective. I'm going to use suspicious and reflective, as that seems to tell a bit more about what they inherently do. Coughing spell again. Oh my God. You're stuck between 1 and 2. Excuse me, I'm terribly sorry. I'm still coughing. So, what is the difference? Suspicious is automatic. It's part of your autonomic system. This is the second round of coughing that I've had in this stream. I am so sorry. And as in danger. So your suspicious is primal fear. It's this primal fear aspect that's hopped in, and it's just like, oh my gosh, I'm in danger. And I'm sorry. I'm trying. So our suspicious is primal fear. Our reflective is the rational and the reasoning system of our brain. And so suspicious kind of jumps in and takes over with our fight or flight. And reflective is the part of the brain that actually is thinking, is this going to kill me or not? So let's break this down a bit more. If you're in the woods and you hear a twig break, it happens. No worries. Thank you. So let's say you're in the woods and you hear a twig break and you think, oh my gosh, is this going to hurt me? Your reflective brain usually kicks in and allows you to rationalize if a situation is dangerous. That twig snap, you're like, oh gosh, twig snap, I might die. But then your rationalization and your reflective brain goes, hold on, that's a squirrel. It's not a bear, because it would be a lot different sounding. It sounds like a little light squirrel because it was like a light twig. What happens is it becomes problematic if the suspicious brain is overactive. Sorry, and the reflective brain doesn't keep up. So too much suspicious brain activity leads to irrationality. This is not good. And that's kind of what we're seeing with conspiracy theorists. They're in constant suspicious brain mode, and they're not in that reflective, rational reasoning mode. So that can become a problem as well. So you guys are being so patient with my coughing and stuff. I'm just like dying over here, and you guys are like, I'm listening to her cough. So, irrational. What is up with the flat earthers? They're inherently irrational, and you can't reason with them. They're not going to listen or accept evidence. They may be incapable of accepting evidence. They're going to be in that constant suspicious mode. They're constantly suspicious. They have this inherent need to be right, and they want this social belonging that's associated with that need to fill that void. You'd call 911, but you don't know where. I'm still breathing. Words are coming out. I just sound like I'm dying because I'm coughing. So this is essentially what we're looking at when it comes to flat earthers. So what can you do? What is it that we're going to do with this thing? Well, it's best, in my humble opinion, it's best not to engage in arguments on the internet. Because the reason for that, you're kidding, you have to be cautious as to not give them a voice. If you watch the cognitive bias episode I had last week, the more people who believe a particular thing, the more powerful it becomes, and the more people who will believe a particular thing. So that's one of the cognitive biases. So you have to be cautious not to give them the voice. They're not going to believe you. They're not going to believe anything that you say. They haven't since 1800s, so they're not going to do that even now. What you can do is promote correct information. Check your sources. Make sure your sources are accurate and be positive. There's no need to get angry or let them bring you down. They're not going to believe anything you say, so just let it kind of roll off your back. So I'm going to show you my sources. Now the thing is, I have compiled a whole list of a lot of information that you can check out. I always put these slides of mine on my website, scientistmail.com, so you can actually go download this particular presentation and click on all my sources so you can check and see this for yourself. So I'm going to show that for you. Excuse me. So here are all of my sources. I have lots and lots of them. I'm so smart. I study too much. I study because it's fun. So I'm going to put all of these on my website, scientistmail.com. You can go and check out all of these and see for yourself this information. Everything that I do, I offer for anyone who's interested in science. If they have any particular topic, if you have a topic you would like me to cover, hit me up on hashtag HeyScientistMel. I also have an audio podcast. Literally, it's hashtag HeyScientistMel. So I take all of the content that I have is all viewer driven, and it's all free. How do you explain if someone just likes not dealing with people? Well, I hear that's kind of introverted. So I want to take a moment to thank all of my patrons on patreon.com. Everything I have is available for free to anyone, for anybody who wants to learn. I'm going to start biology, physical science, and chemistry assessments soon that I'm generating myself. So you'll be able to test your own knowledge based against what the U.S. expects you to know in regards to science, and you can kind of assess yourself. And I'll also have that linked to standards, so topics that you need to kind of work on your own personal growth. Now, I also have free stuff in rewards for my patrons on patreon.com. So if you can chip in $1 a month, that helps me out. Because of them, I'm able to actually have my own website and be able to generate more content for public use. So, and if you can't, I do have a PayPal and you can message me for that. Hey, look, there's your name. Yes. So Tony, Lauren, Anonymous, Mark, Jen, Carl, Melanie, Anthony, Paula, Carrie, Keith, Zachary, Patrick, Tony, Graham, Tristan, and Jennifer. These are my current patrons, and I thank them for what they contribute. And they do work to help me out in that I can kind of keep the lights on my website and stuff. So you can find me everywhere on the internet. If you have any types of ideas for topics, message me on scientistmel.com. My Patreon is scientistmel. I'm on Periscope scientistmel. My WordPress is now scientistmel.com. You don't need to worry about that. youtube.com/scientistmel. This video will be posted on YouTube shortly, and I am on Facebook. So that has been the Science of Flat Earthers. 30 minutes late because I'm coughing my brains out. So thank you for your patience in me coughing and stuff. But I wanted to make sure that I got this out to you. So if you have any questions, please hit me up on Twitter with #HeyScientistMel. My mentions fill pretty rapidly, but I always have that hashtag reserved for questions and topics and things like that. And my podcast is on iTunes as well. And if you're a Patreon patron, you get early access to my audio podcast every week. So thank you so much for hopping aboard. And it's been a pleasure going back over the science of flat earthers when I haven't been coughing my brains out. Thank you so much. And you guys have an awesome day, okay?